into account your personal situation.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower, get involved in the chat and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Happy Friday. How are you, Witten?
Mate, good. We made it to Friday, which is fantastic. Fantastic news. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Welcome, folks. Good to see you here. A few of the early birds are already on. Always great to have you with us, folks.
Oh, it's daylight savings.
Mate, it is a little bit early in Queensland No, it's not really, actually. Most Queenslanders are stopping about midday on a Friday.
you knock off at 12, isn't it? Poets' Day. Piss off early. Tomorrow's
Saturday,
that's it.
Something like that. There you go. Well, welcome along, folks. Good to see you here. Got a few of you in the chat already. So say a hello. Let us know where you are, what you're up to. Tracy's in the house. Tracy. Sonia's here too.
Oh, while we're doing that, I'm just going to throw another one out to the local members just down the road here at Barmer Park. Jason, I'm going to bring some of this up when I come up to Queensland next week for the exit plan. This is the boat shed. You'd know that there's lots of these things on the beach. Nobody ever goes there because it's too cold. But mate, this is an interesting one. This is a Pinot Gris where they leave it on the skins. So it's kind of halfway between a red and a white, mate. It's absolutely beautiful. You'd love it, from a place just around the corner from me, Barmer Park. Absolute cracker bottle, ladies and gents. If you're on the Mornington Peninsula, go past, say good day to my friends down there. Cracking bottles of wine where we don't get anything from it other than the occasional glass of beautiful wine. But that's an absolute cracker, mate. Pinot Gris on the skins. Good way to start a Friday.
And looks like you can put a bit of ice in it, Fenton, so it's Queensland style.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice that one.
Most Witten style, anyway. There you go.
Well, ladies and gents, if you're tuning in, a little bit about Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. This has been cracking on for a good few years now. We started off strong during COVID times, helping business owners and investors navigate their way through clickbait journalism that preys on the fear and the uncertainty, but fails to show the opportunity that sits in front of you. So we decided to come out in the form of social media, and Wealth, Wine and Wisdom was the form, and the information's all about giving you facts and the theory and the strategy to navigate uncertain times in business, in investing, in property, in real estate, in superannuation, in tax, so that with the chaos and the BS that's out there from the politicians lying through their teeth, through the media just trying to scare you into never wanting to wake up in the morning, as to how you can take that fear and turn it into opportunity. And ultimately, that's what we started in COVID, and that's what we're doing today with government debt just smashing through the $1 trillion rate and showing no signs of slowing down. Housing affordability, well, now it's just getting harder and harder. What's the reason why? Because we don't have any bloody properties to put them in. And what's the government doing about it? Sweet fuck all. And so in there is some incredible opportunities that we can take advantage of if we can just look at what the real data is, the real facts, and maybe have a steady compass of what true north looks like for you. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom is our forum to be able to share some of that information with you and hopefully give you a steady guide, some good information, and help you look in the right direction for the future. We call it decanting the week because, well, we started off having a glass of wine trying to figure out what to do in COVID, and now we have a glass of wine with all you guys trying to figure out what to do over the next transition of wealth that is upon us. Massive opportunity and massive fear and massive amount of BS out there. We call it decant the week. So let's decant the week, Jace. Let's jump into it and we'll be back in a few moments. So, Witten, I've missed you, mate. So I've missed you. Haven't had you around for a couple of weeks.
Times, yeah. You've had to navigate with a few guests, which is always interesting.
Well, it was, yeah. I mean, it was interesting. The decorum went up, the information went up, and so, mate, you've got a new standard to set now. So what's been happening in the world of Witten, socially, responsibly, and financially?
Well, listen, playing straight into your intro, Andy, as we do, we'd like try to line up. Here's a few I've prepared a little bit earlier, folks. But my world, if you didn't know, is in the world of real estate. Created wealth over the last 25 years in real estate. Coach and help thousands of Aussies and New Zealanders buy and invest and keep long term their real estate wealth. And the last 5 years have been a pretty good run for most people. Starting out just before COVID, you can go back and look at our other stuff, our older stuff, and see our predictions have come true. And now Andy and I are talking about the what now decade. And what now for real estate is very interesting. The supply chain is not going to be fixed. We know that for a fact. Anyone tells you anything different is absolutely full of shit. Just get out there on the ground and see what's going on. I can tell you that it's not going to be fixed. What does that mean for us, though, folks, as investors, is what we've got to do. We've got to take advantage of this, because if you do own real estate and you do want to invest, then there's great opportunity out there. But here's one thing that we said. The government, let's give away free money like drunken sailors. Every time they do that, they fuck the market up. But tis what it is, folks. We can't stop them. We can vote a little bit better, but right now we're not stopping them. They're giving away free money. Matter of fact, it's not free money. You and I, Andy, and everyone covered this last time. The government is giving away taxpayers' money to first home buyers, and the taxpayers are underwriting it, and the government are claiming the spoils of that initiative. Now, I'm not against first home buyers getting a first deal, but what is happening every time they make a move, the benefit or the advantage they attempt to pass on, Andy, folks, because we have such a supply chain issue. Put it in the chat, folks. When we have such a supply shortage of appropriately priced real estate, and you make benefits, which is like stamp duty concessions, Andy, or special borrowing to a certain amount, what happens, folks? Put it in the chat. It doesn't take friggin' Einstein to work this one out. Prices go up, right? Prices go up.
Well, I reckon. So here's the slogan, Witten. This is what we're going to call it from now on. Popular politics propaganda.
Well, that's the PPPP, right?
The PPPP, because mate, they were told this by the think tank, by the Anti-Productivity Commission that they have. They've been warned about doing this type of behaviour. They've not only have they been warned, through COVID, they saw the effects of it. Every time they gave away subsidies on housing, immediately it happened. And here's the thing: it's the popular politics arbitrage, right? And in the world of finance, mate, this happens. It used to happen. Right now, it happens so quickly. It's because as soon as there's a gap, there's an opportunity, which means something is mispriced. Then the market immediately takes advantage of that mispricing, and all that is, Jace, like giving people that free kick. All it does is create a mispricing arbitrage, and what happens? Prices go up.
Prices go up, and also, Andy, too. I think, and this is probably true in the stock market as well as the real estate market. The prices go up and it's fake value, right? So it's a mechanism that's not true underlying value. And I think real estate's going to be worth more than it should be because we've got an underlying issue. And I don't see any of that heat being taken out of the market in the short term. But really, medium to long term, better quality properties will grow better in value, be more attractive. But, what's happening? First home buyers, they can to get all the grants, they have to buy a new house for $900 to $1 million. That's insane. It's crazy. Prices are already going up. We own a residential real estate agency in Brisbane, South Brisbane, and we've helped people buy new properties all around Australia for 20 years. And already the prices are up $50,000 to $70,000 within 3 months. This is what happens, folks. We've got some construction and competition going on with the increase in construction costs, and certainly different places are more expensive to build. So that's already happening as well, because we've had, construction companies go out of business, and less competition means, prices can be put up and profits, and whatever that sort of can happen. That's happening in a lot of places. Melbourne, actually, the construction costs are going up a little bit faster than other places in the country, and now, which is interesting.
I wonder why that is.
But we've had this opportunity in Melbourne to buy positionally and price wise for a good 12, 18 months, because it's had some bad raps, but that's changing ever so quickly, folks. So Melbourne is on the comeback. And right now, you can check this out. The taxes and infrastructure costs that local governments, state governments, and the national government are putting on places where there used to be, folks, affordable housing being created, $100,000. And it's actually more in Melbourne. Actually, I think we did a number on $139,000 last time I put this together. Over $100,000 per apartment, which are just government costs. There's nothing. What for? What got added to that property that you could then say, all right, it's part of the value for the future? Fuck all, nothing.
I can tell you what happened. Oh, well, they sat on the approval for 6 months while they went on holiday.
Yep.
They chatted to their mates at the union and said, here's a site that you should slow down the construction of because it's about to launch.
Yeah.
They didn't give you the correct planning permits because they mislabeled them and sent them to the wrong developer with your plans on them. Did you hear about that? They sent somebody else's plans and developed to the wrong developer. Mate, clearly very competent. $100,000 it's spent well, mate. It's spent well. What we need in this country is more public servants. I've said it for years. We need more of them. We need more of them.
So it's not adding any value to your real estate. It's it's literally devaluing the real estate world, and so that's a sad state of affairs, folks. And apartment dwelling approvals are going down. And we
were talking about this. I was talking about this with Dan last week. 14,744 total. And that fell by 6% in August. Sorry, it fell by 14,744.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is insane. This is insane. And ladies, gents, parents, students, please understand this. It's like this idea of, hey, we'll give you a discount to buy a property. How's about you just approve more stuff coming through? I can guarantee you there's a lot in the pipe works. How's about you just get off your ass? You actually do your job. You approve things, or do it a little bit faster so we can get more productivity into the economy. I mean, it's economics 101, Whitten. Economics 101, supply, demand. How do you, if there's not enough supply, then demand is disproportionate. How do you do that? You either decrease the demand. How do you do that? You start shooting people. I don't know. Maybe you bring COVID Mark II back but how do you do it? You're not going to decrease the demand, so you increase supply. And what do we have a lot of in Australia? Land. It's insane.
It needs to be something much better. Well, listen, this is happening in Sydney right now. There's certain NIMBY and YIMBY conversations going on, not in my backyard, and yes, in my backyard when it comes to development. It's a funny one. Well, listen, New South Wales actually is taking a stance on this. They've decided that they're going to rip in, and they've taken some powers off certain councils, folks. So this is some good news. Now,
Yep.
I think it's great, but for those who are going to have less say, which I think the pendulum swings. It just gets ludicrous one way then the other. If they were just even keeled about it as you went along, we probably wouldn't be having these problems. But there's $100 million project. Hundreds and hundreds of properties in great spaces and places. And the locals are saying, no, piss off, don't build it here.
I've got a thought on that, Jace. It's not a good one.
But the good part about a few things that are going on is some of the local councils are going, listen, we're in support of this. We need to increase density in our areas. It's good for them. They get some infrastructure costs, and so they get some extra income. But if they don't, the state government will be taking their planning permissions off them, and it'll go over the top of them. So, New South Wales has done that a couple of times. So this is one space to keep an eye on, Andy and folks. I don't think it's going to fix the supply problem, but what will happen, listen up, folks, what will happen, we have Melbourne is, we're still undersupplied in supply, but Melbourne is supplying the most real estate in Australia. And they're only about 15% off the pace, where places like Queensland and New South Wales are 40 to 50% off the pace to hit targets, to just basically break even. What will happen, here's the drill, is there'll be opportunities to buy really well in New South Wales and Sydney again, because the supply becomes available. And for us as investors, folks, this is where the good part is, right? I'm a fan of buying off the plan. I've bought a lot of off the plan properties in the past. What will happen is most people will be afraid of purchasing off the plan, Andy, and they'll seek out existing property. Now, existing property will get overpriced for the relative return and risk, as far as I'm concerned, and off the plan it will be underpriced in its relative value once there's a bit of supply that comes through. You can see this as a correlation in certain places, especially in Queensland and Western Australia, where those markets are undersupplied, and in both types of property. So here's a positive to finish on my piece for today, Andy, and I'll throw to you that these issues are going to turn a little corner for us if we're investors, and we can get a piece of the action over this next 3 to 5 years. Pressure is going to go in the positive if you know what to do, and you can be in the driver's seat on it. So that's my little update for the real estate space, Andy. And what's on your conversation piece for this week, mate?
Well, mate, before I jump into mine, I figure we'll just timestamp this as the 10th of October 2025, when Andy Fenton got it right.
All right. But hang on.
So here's what I think is going to happen, based on the federal taking over the state approvals, because this has been something that's been happening, and I've been watching it closely in my neck of the woods for my own selfish reasons, right? And I was thinking, why the push? Why the push? Housing approvals down, everything's down. And I'm like, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Take it over. So modest. I'm talking about the future, yeah, and I guarantee it's going to come true, because one of the things I always say is capitalism. There's no major conspiracy theory. That's my belief. But capitalism is a self-sorting system of extraordinary efficiency, right? You can predict greed. You can predict foul behavior. You can predict these things. It's very, very easy to predict it if you just put on a politician's hat. And so let's line these things up. Taking over land in Australia without a dwelling and taxing it, right, for the approvals. This is what happened in COVID. If you did not have a building on a block of land, they were bringing out a tax that was saying, if we rezone your land, then you will be taxed on the value uplift. But don't worry, we'll give you a loan at like 16% or something like that if you can't afford to pay the tax, something dumb, right? So that was number one. Number two was then that they said, okay, foreign investment discounts for build to rent, right? Foreign investment discounts for build to rent, stamp duty, all of these concessions, land tax, blah, 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 right? There's a few others that line up here, but I'm taking too long to get to the point.
Crack on, Fenton.
My point is, I reckon the reason that they're taking this over and that there will be benefit to it in a lot of areas is so when these build to rent, when they do their deals with BlackRock and when they do their deals with Cbus, and I've got a few things to talk about the super funds today, but when they do those deals, the local government will be powerless to stop it. Will be powerless to stop it. They'll just go, "Nope, we've done the deal with Cbus. They're building there. Boom, the deal's done. It's gone. It's frictionless. The only people now who can control the cost of the project are the unions."
Yeah, yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, and I would concur, certainly, because the build to rent mobs are picking up pace now, and they need sites because the money won't come if it doesn't get moving.
They need momentum.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is a great way of them being able to control that. There will be benefit for us. There absolutely, because I think it's a devilish approach creates great opportunity as well for us. I just think it's the wrong way of going about it. Anyway,
yeah, I'm with you. One last piece before I finish, I'll throw to you, which is just one little bit here, which is
I saw this. Yeah,
and the reason I like the idea of that. A lot of people talk about land content, and yes, land content's a very basic way to manage. If you got land content, values go up, and that's it's pretty good. But don't underestimate position. You have a look at this: the further away you are from the CBD or a piece of infrastructure that's highly sought after, especially for travel and transport. Now, is that as important these days, where people can work from home? Maybe a little less, but still very important.
Logistically, it still is, and it will never be different until we can solve logistic issues.
Yeah, logistic issues. So, this is why I'm very bullish, Andy, and folks listening in, about the world of medium to high density dwellings. If you understand how to purchase well, the closer you get to something valuable, the more valuable they are. And one of the good parts that I like about it, Andy, is that when you own, if your property's worth $3 or $4 million and your land content's quite small, your land tax is very, very low compared to the yield and return that you're getting in comparison to a house or maybe a large plot of land. Your land tax will be quite high in comparison to the dollar for dollar value. So it's a bit of a mix. But don't underestimate the distance from the CBD being something that is undervalued in that space, as far as I'm concerned.
We need to coin a phrase on this one, because I'll put the challenge out there. Here's the challenge: buy a bit of real estate for $3 million Australian, which is more than which is 4 bedrooms or more in any westernized major metropolis. And what I mean by that: Paris in France, London in England, Stockholm in Sweden. Go to any major Western city, right, and see whether you can get a 4-bedroom apartment for that amount. I guarantee you will struggle. You will absolutely struggle. And the reason why you'll struggle is that logistics of cities, there's a reason why cities are cities. And the reason why cities were even born was based on infrastructure and logistics. That's going back to the Roman Empire, when the first sort of sewerage systems were developed, right? And that has not fundamentally changed. As a matter of fact, it's become more important over time. So, there's a big reason why cities are cities. And they said in the middle of COVID that cities were going to be broken. Nobody was going to go back into cities, but quite clearly they got that one wrong. But mate, so yeah, I concur. I agree. We're agreeing today, but it's a bit weird. Anyway, we'll crack on. We'll find something to disagree about, I'm sure. But mates, like this one, ASIC is flexing some muscles around here. But this is a really interesting one. Caught this headline: ASIC to crack down on asset valuations after scathing superannuation report. That captured my attention, because ASIC is typically the drunk driver that falls asleep behind the wheel, and then cries, "Oh, it's not my fault." But anyway, they're on the front foot. They need to be on the front foot because their reputation's getting crushed a little bit. But let me read you a little bit of what this was all about. So effectively, ASIC went into some of the largest super funds in Australia, mostly industry super funds, right? And the corporate regulator has issued a report on $4.3 trillion super industry after it found that one of the big four super funds, one of the biggest super funds in Australia, actually did a $500 million write-down, on an asset within its portfolio. Effectively, the release was ASIC released on Tuesday following the nation's second largest super fund, $330 billion Australian retirement trust, defaulting on a loan tied to an office block in Seattle after the major tenant, Microsoft, did not renew its lease. The default report by Bloomberg on Monday meant that roughly $300 million US or 457 million investment made in 2020 by Q Super, which is now the Australian Retirement Trust, was obliterated, right? Was written down. And when asked to comment, they said, oh, we already substantially wrote that down in 2024. But the auditors, Jace, had not been reporting on these. So what does that mean? Like, let's condense it down.
What does it mean, Andy? Like, there's a lot of detail there. Like compress it for us. Say what?
The transparency on super funds, like what do you actually own, right? And there's this component called unlisted investments.
When someone else is managing them, right? These big companies managing. Yeah.
Big companies managing it.
Yep.
It's like, what do I actually have in my portfolio? What's producing the returns? And are the returns that are being publicized, are they real, right? And so the only way to define whether they're real or to be able to see whether they're real is to actually understand what you're invested in. And there's this part in a lot of the major super funds. And when I say super funds, I mean not retail platforms that you can choose your own investments or self-managed super funds where you can choose your own investments. I'm talking about the big ones like Australian Super, like Rest, and like CBUS, all these big super funds, right? I'm not going to isolate any of them individually. I don't want to get sued. But ultimately, there's a part of the investments which are unlisted investments. I love unlisted investments. Big fan, right? Unlisted investments could be property. And in this case, they were. But you have to value those investments. And they get the auditors like Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they do these auditing reports. But they're not capturing the fact that these companies are sometimes making massive investments of money that's not theirs, and then writing off the investments, like this $500 million investment that was written off because Microsoft moved out.
But Andy, well, what happens when they do those deals? Like, does one of their mates get a $55 million commission?
Oh, well, mate, that would be illegal, but probable. I would say.
Well, this is the thing you and I have chatted about for a little while. Australia per capita is, at the moment, the second largest pension in the world, and soon within 5 years to be the largest pension scheme or largest retirement funds in the world. And if you have a look at the average age right now, just traveling through this is our largest sort of working demographic, which is males and females in Australia at the moment, 25 plus. So you got sort of your 25 to sort of 45. And it's the first kind of, you're in my generation of the first generation to have paid into our super for our whole entire lives.
Yes.
Our parents haven't, like your parents, my parents didn't.
No.
So this next generation, Australia is off the charts. And this, I get pissed off about this because why are they spending, 300, million in America? Why don't they invest in Australian infrastructure? I think it's bullshit personally, but
because of the union involvement in Australia.
How's this bullshit? But anyway, so Andy, the takeaway, folks, for people listening in is that the assets that are managed by some other company, you don't know what they're really truly managing, right? And then they're writing down losses, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we lost your money. So what?" It
reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld. Well, all of these big companies, Whitten, they just write it off. It's like, what do you mean write it off? It's like, well, they just write it off. It's like, well, what's a write-off? Well, it's when they just write it off. Uh, you don't even know what a write-off is. Well, they do, and they're the ones writing it off.
They're the ones that are doing it.
And they don't even know either. But what are they writing off? I can tell you what they're writing off: your money.
That's right.
That's what they're writing off. They're saying you used to have $1 billion. Now that $1 billion is worth $500 million, or $500 million is now worth zero because we made a shit decision and we decided not to let you know. And that's the point, Jace. Like the transparency. We all make silly decisions, bad decisions, not great decisions from time to time in life and in business and investing. That just happens. That's a matter of life. But you fess up, you say, this is what happened. You're transparent, you're honorable, and then people will follow you and that is the bare minimum that investors need. But it's not happening, and it's clear that it's not happening, and apparently it's happening on a far bigger scale.
Well,
So
I mean that obviously, none of this is financial advice. We're just drinking wine and talking about things that we're, observing. But I'm a big fan of managing my own wealth everywhere I can, and there's a lot of people who think that that's part of the plan for their future, and depends on how much money and how much control you want. You want to think about that. So it's an interesting one.
And there's more than one way. Like there are these things called retail platforms. And it's if you can't afford to have a self-managed super fund because you don't have enough to warrant the setup costs and yada yada yada, like because it costs a bit and you have to take on some responsibilities. But there's retail funds that you can invest in, and all they are is an administration platform that allows you to invest in whatever you want. Now, in theory, you could invest everything that you want in a whole lot of shares. You might choose Tesla and Microsoft and Nvidia, and you might choose a whole lot of these different shares. And you go, I want to invest in those. And you can control your destiny without necessarily having a full-blooded self-managed super fund. I reckon it's best to have an advisor help you with those things because you can go very wrong very quickly. But the thing is, at least you know the risks that you're taking. And,
well, at the end of the day, I'm a big fan. You and I like this, Andy. We're big fans of making sure you take responsibility for your own future, and that means monetarily as well as health and your wealth and whatever. And the moment you let someone else manage your stuff and they don't, there's no accountability there or whatever, then holy smokes, like that's a recipe for them lining their own pockets, not yours. But what else is going on in your world?
And therefore, capitalism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Look, I like this article. I saw it somewhere. Fifi Box, very well-known radio figure, blasted Jacinta Allen over lack of action. Can you believe it, Jace? Like Jacinta Allen, the Victorian Premier. I mean, she's been acting a lot. She's been acting like she's been doing things in the best interest of Victoria. She's been acting like she's not Dan Andrews' puppet. She's been acting like she doesn't know why he's over in China and why she was over in China trying to rattle the tin and say, please buy property over in Australia so that we can pay for the Metro Rail. She's been doing a lot, mate. She approved the Metro Rail, which continues to basically be bankrupt. She approved a statue of Dan Andrews, which is going to be erected. And erected is the right expression because, in my opinion, it should look like a giant cock. And bronzed up. It's a beautiful place for a bird to poo. So I don't know. I reckon Fifi's off the mark on this one. I think Jacinta has been very busy. Oh, the other part, Jace. She's been very busy ignoring people's votes because we voted no for the Voice, and yet she's just still putting in the Voice as a second part of government in Victoria without the people say so. We voted no. She's doing it anyway. So I don't know, Fifi. She's been up to a fair bit, I would say, over time. I can't say the same about our great treasurer. You'll like this one, Jace. So this is an interesting one of how yours and mine and everyone who's listening, our taxpayers' money is being spent. So part of their policy was for the last 3 budget updates, Albanese government has failed to meet its own target to save at least 50% of the new taxes, not the old ones, save for the future, like they ask you to do as Australians. And then if you save too much, they'll tax you, right? But they've ignored their own fiscal targets. Check this out. Tax upgrade saved per budget, right? There's the coalition which is in tatters. It really is, unfortunately. Now, Labor did a reasonable job for 23, 24, 25, 10%. Mate, they are on the gear again. They're tapping a vein. They're spending it. And like you said, they're using our money to underwrite the property inaffordability problem of the future, which the flip side is the opportunity for investors to make a lot of money, but your average person to be out of the housing market. And they're using our money, our taxes to do it, because they're not saving it, they're spending it.
And it's not going into infrastructure, folks. It's not going into things that are going to, make the country great again and operate and attract investment here. At the end of the day, here's some of the things I do agree with when it comes to the intergenerational wealth. Let the parents give the kids the money to get a new home. The parents are wealthy. If they've already got that money, why are you and I, Andy, got to stump up when there's already baby boomers seriously wealthy? They should pass on their money to their children and help them out. That's 100%. Not the government's job. That's bullshit. And
if they don't do it willingly, that's what powers of attorney are for. Just joking. Just joking.
Well, at the end of the day, it's the nanny state, isn't it? Really, it's like, and it's vote buying. I think who was it said before? Chris is just saying buying votes with taxpayers' money.
100%. While selling you on a dream that isn't real.
Yeah.
And selling you on a false promise. It really is.
Yeah.
So it's all lies. It's all lies. But here's the stats to back it up, right? This was an interesting one. Bartenders chart. Number of Aussies working as bartenders. Mate, these are some of my favourite people of the past. I've had many great times being served a beer or a cocktail by some of our great bartenders. But 2006, there was 47,000 of them. Our population has increased exponentially. There's now only 45,000 of them. They've dropped, and that was at 2021 and decreasing. I've got some insights as to the reason why. This is the tax on alcohol in Australia since August 2023. Look at astronomically how much it's gone up, and it's a bit too fuzzy to read there, but you can tell a compounding effect that is out of control. Is it just us? Well, no. Have a look at this one. So per unit of alcohol, cask wine, Jace, which is what you were.
I told you.
The least amount of tax per unit of alcohol is the cask wine. So the Fruity Alexia dream is still alive. You can drink it and then use it as a pillow. Wine is the next cheapest. Cider going up. Beer was halfway there. Beer was 39 cents, which is still astronomical per unit, right? Beer, whiskey, brandy, so on and so forth, up to spirits. 124. That's what it is. 1.24. So, mate, the one thing I love about Australians, and statistics don't lie, look at this. They found out that beer was too heavily taxed and it was cheaper to get pissed on wine. And look at that. It's a zero-sum game. Cask wine went through the roof. People stopped buying Foster's and started buying Di Bartoli cask wine like you and Duncan out climbing. And look at that, mate. You will not stop Australians getting pissed. That's flat out. You can tax it, but they will find a resource.
There you go, mate. There you go. Got the wine.
This is a photo that Witten actually FaceTimes me holding that up in the air saying, look at what we've got, Fenton. I'm like, oh. The only saving grace is you're actually drinking it out of glasses.
Well, that's right. That's what happened. But there you go. Listen, Fenton, I'm on the cutting edge all the time, even when I don't know it.
Well, so you're always on the cutting edge, mate. And you are just like, well, you are one of the top notch. You're the 1% of the 1%. But you're just like every other Australian. Capitalism self-sorts. Getting pissed self-sorts. I've got a budget of $100. I can buy more wine than I can beer. I'm buying wine. Right? So, hey, Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but you know what? If we go by this chart here, I would say that cask wine is going to make a comeback until they lower the cost of all of these other
the second and
alcohols.
third effect of that, Andy, is like, let's invest in some cask wine companies. But listen, yes. Tracy's right, because I made sure I got a glass to drink from today because I knew Fenton would give me the stink eye. So, at least I got
time to buy a red shirt. So have a look at this, because I just thought we'd compare it, right, with some of the other great intoxicated nations, right? So if you went, who are the most pissed nations in the world? You'd probably go Australians. You'd definitely go the Brits. Like, you'd go, they're probably number one. New Zealand up there, jolly. US, love it. Love a good drink, probably in their early days. But have a look at that. Like, this is how much disproportionate consumer tax that our government gets, right? Outside of all of the other stuff that we talk about, tax on your wages, tax on the companies, outside of all of that, look at this. International tax comparison per litre of alcohol. US, $14. New Zealand, $60. Great Britain, the great pissed nation. And look, there's nothing funnier than a pissed Brit. Like, they're Ricky Gervais. Say no more. Best in the world. 61. Australia, 101.
Well, Australian history, Andy, what was our only rebellion in Australia? That was the Rum Rebellion.
It was the Rum Rebellion. Our only civil war was on alcohol.
Maybe we should launch another rebellion right now, because that's ludicrous.
It's outrageous. 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 And these are the taxes. The reason why I bring this up, Jace, is these are the taxes that nobody sees. These are the taxes that, nobody talks about. We don't see it. We feel it. Probably, arguably, we feel it in the net positive when it comes to booze. Can't afford that 7th tequila shot. But jeepers, like, they're getting their pound of flesh, Jace. In comparison, per capita, meaning based on the amount of people in our population around the world, if all other things were being equal, if the same amount of people existed in the US and Australia and everything, we are still almost 100% more, 100% more tax on alcohol than some of our closest neighbours, and 400% on. I love this. Alexis said, but I'm allergic to wine. Do I get a tax deduction? I reckon you bloody should. I reckon you should. I reckon if there's a spirit tax, there should be a water deductible. There you go. We've cracked the atom here. And here's the reason why. They tax tobacco because it sees you in hospital too often. So it means you're a bigger burden on the taxpayer. So why don't they make deductible swimming exercises? You go to the pool, you get a $100 deduction every time you go to the pool. You drink 4 liters of water every day, you get a $5 deduction every time you drink those 4. I reckon you're onto something there. It's like carbon credits. They're another great scam. So
well, at the end of the day, every time you incentivize something, there's quite a lot of movement towards those things. And, at the end of the day, everyone knows how to game the plan. There is a good book actually called Gaming the Plan, folks. If you
don't hate the player.
Yeah, don't hate the player, hate the game. But, at the end of the day, it's one that we need to navigate together. It's always a bit of fun, but at the end of the day, look, I'm a big fan of, if I'm going to pay tax, I'll happily pay it on consumption of things. I just think that the idea of a ludicrous income tax is something we can navigate. And other great things, Andy, you and
I. That's a problem, mate. I agree with you, but it's like big income tax, big corporate tax, and big consumer tax. Like, bullshit. Come on.
Yeah. Well, listen, if we could wave a magic wand, we'd do it a little bit differently. That's for sure. But for all of our listeners, Andy and I always like to talk about, some of the headwinds that we navigate. But what we absolutely know is there's ways and strategies to navigate this stuff. We teach a little bit of thing. You guys know Andy and I have launched a program called the Freedom Machine, and it flows into a thing called the Exit Plan. And we teach people how to navigate these things in Australia. Andy and I were over in Malaysia for a worldwide tax conference. It was fascinating. And there's some very good conversations around when and if, maybe shifting to another country, another passport, another residency might be useful when it comes to wealth and tax and lifestyle arbitrage and things like that. But by and large, Andy and I takeaway was that Australia's actually got some reasonable structures and rules if you know how to roll with them. Those who don't learn them get really punished, and those who do learn them actually, Andy, end up like just light years ahead. So
well, here's the drill. You can have about $5 million worth of net wealth, and you can organize that in such a way that you'll never pay tax.
Yeah.
Again, you and your significant other. Otherwise, it's 3 million. Like $2.5 million. Like we do have. They're trying to close the rules down, and that's what Jason and I get pissed off about. It's like, no, you've created a reasonably good system. Let's learn how to optimize for that system, because that's the reason the system's there. The whole reason the system was built the way that it was built is so that Australians could be self-funded, so the government don't have to fund them.
Yep.
So don't fuck the system that was built very well, right? And that's all that Jason and I really spend our time getting pissy about. It's like, no, the system actually is good, but if we don't fight to keep it good, then it will be shit. And so we've got to fight to keep it where it is, because in our country, you can, with the right advice or the right knowledge, right, be able to accumulate in a very good, systematic, tax-friendly way, and then maximize that in a way that will be tax-free for a lifetime. But you have to understand the rules of the game.
Yep. Understand the rules of the game is something that Andy absolutely teaches. So if you're up for it, folks, click on that little QR code there and join Andy next week or the week after, actually. And listen, if anyone's a business owner listening up today and you haven't registered to come to our Exit Plan weekend in 2 weeks' time, you're missing out.
Next week.
It's next week.
Next week.
Anyway, scan the code. Come along, folks, if you want to, or put it in the chat. Put an Exit Plan in the chat if you're up for it. But there you go, 3 days with myself and Andy teaching people this. But listen,
I'm going to share with you some incredible investment results just before we go as well, Whitten. Just so we don't forget it before we go, I've got something incredible to share with you, just quickly as a prelude to next week.
Yep. All right. Well, pretty pumped about next week. We do it twice a year, but this is an interesting one, Andy. Like the baby boomers. Australia is pretty large at the moment when it's $4.9 trillion with a T, trillion, not billion, not million, billion, $1 trillion. It's happening, and the transfer of this wealth over the next 20 years is underway. We saw the treasurer talking about what did he say? Like a cheeky giveaway, like it pretending no one was listening, but it's like, we just need a fair intergenerational wealth transfer. Like what was that bullshit? Which means basically, watch out, you lot, because I see you're wealthy and I'm gonna fucking put my hands in your pocket, both of them, and grab a heap on the way through. That's what's happening.
Fair tax system. Oh, yeah. Don't even get me. Spend it well. Spend it well. Spend it well. Spend it well. That's it. Spend it well.
Make sure, folks, you if you're anywhere near this, the transfer of wealth, you get that dialed and sorted, because they're not going to muck around when it comes to getting their fair share, Andy.
No, they're
unfair share, let's call it.
Yeah, it's unfair, and we're going to make it fair. Like, far out. Say what you want about Donald. At least he's pro-business, pro his own business, probably more so than anything. So, the stock market, Jace, is officially, and only just recently, is officially the number one favorite investment
Zoom
for
in on that,
Americans.
Andy, so we can see
I'm
it.
going to, but
Yeah.
we got 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to throw some things out there. I can go into some details. Let's have a look. Maybe we'll go through it today. This isn't financial advice. This is just shit that I'm interested in and I've been following, and I might have been dabbling in for a little while. But it's going to get a bit conspiracy tin hat. Are you ready for it, Witten? Are you ready for a little bit of conspiracy tin hat stuff? Because it's not my
Give
game.
it a whirl, Benton. Give it a whirl.
It's not mine. But I understand you love that stuff, and I'm just like, give me the facts. You're like, but there's more than facts. So the division of investment in America by percentage across the population. There's 7% in other investments. Not quite sure what that other in. If it's potentially a union super fund, it could be anything. It could be cocaine. Who knows? It could be a Microsoft headquarters with nobody in it. Just joking. Allegedly, I'd never be able to say that sort of stuff. I'm just joking. Bonds, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies, 6% of total wealth pool of Americans. Gold and other precious metals, 9%. Those are two big movers, Jace. Two massive movers, because they didn't exist. Gold existed. But it was minor part. I mean, as a part of the total investment pool of America 10 years ago, those were tiny in comparison.
Well, check out this stuff, like your gold there. I mean, you and I were doing with the cryptocurrencies, hopefully we can circle around to this in a minute, Andy, but gold surging. Yeah. So we're
definitely going overtime today. That's all right. So those have gone from like 1% or no percent to 6 and 9%. Those are massive movements. Like when you think about the amount of investment funds in America, huge. Cash investments, 21%. Now, I want you to think about this. 21% in cash. And what's cash, Jace? What's
trash?
Cash?
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, what are people doing with cash? Like, that's crazy.
Yes, cash, 21% in cash.
Savings, yeah.
Almost the same that's in real estate.
Which is
as an Australian.
Insane.
It's insane. There is almost as much in the US in cash as what there is in real estate, which is just mind blowing. And read between the lines. This is where as investment analysts we start to go, where is the money? What is the trend? Where's the mobile money? Where is it likely to head? Right. So 24% in real estate, 21% in trash, and 27% in the stock market. Now, I still think that that's a staggeringly low amount of money in the stock market. But I've got some pretty cool statistics if you want to jump into them, because I've been watching four of my favorites, and I can either save this to next week or jump through it now, but four of my favorites to watch and they're mostly US traded stuff, but they're globally accessible with outrageous returns. Do you want to know what they are?
I do, but let's just quickly do like the comparison to Australia, which America loves its share market. Have a look at the comparison. Like, check it out. Australia loves its land and dwellings in comparison, and we won't put the assets and liabilities there, but check this out. There's Australia's net wealth, land and dwellings. We are so obsessed with real estate, which is, hey,
shit. So
that's drill. Superannuation reserves.
6, 7, 8. Let's call it 9 trillion. Let's call it 9 trillion is in everything else, and 11 trillion. So it's well over 50%.
Well over 50%. So in comparison to the US, it's a little bit different, right? So there you go. Interesting times. But again, like, even though I'm a property guy, I think the Australian investment landscape's a little bit under diversified when it comes to that world. But it works in Australia, but you've got to understand those risks.
It's commercial. Kerry Packer said it well back in the House of Reps. He said, you make the rules and keep them. Don't keep changing them, and don't try and get around them and change them due to popular opinion or based on whatever's going on in the media. I think that's maybe the reason why he bought the media companies. Maybe he thought that he might be able to control the politicians through the media, stop them from doing stupid shit, and maybe he did that for some period of time. But the damage that the politicians in Australia are doing by making it hard to do business in Australia is devastating. And as a result, people won't operate here. But that means markets in other parts of the world, in Europe, in these tax beneficial countries that we were learning about, Jace, those are the homes of some of the largest companies in the world. Yeah, whack it in the chat. Does anybody know where the home of Google is? Does anybody know what country the home of Google is as far as the main HQ?
I think I know.
Let's see whether they crack on here, because I would never have guessed it. Like, you'd never guess. You'd never think like it could have been this not unusual place, wonderful place in the world. It's quite old via global standards.
Can I have a guess?
You can have a guess. Yes, Mr. Whitten.
Pick me. Ireland.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Luke got it straight off the bat. Ireland.
Yeah, we're on it. Ireland. There we go. Brad's on it as well. Well, this is interesting, isn't it, Andy? Like the low corporate headquarters tax rate of Ireland, which is, do you know what?
It's a simple equation, Jace.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. You know, one of the big eye openers for me over in Malaysia in this international tax conference is that countries rebrand themselves and kind of like, who am I attracting? Like, what will I be to the world?
Yes.
So it's, you know, like it's so eye opening. Like, you know, when you live in, you know, I live in the Gold Coast, and you're like, the Gold Coast Council, and then I live in Queensland, and then I live in Australia, and then I live in the world. Like, the idea of like, okay, well, you know, I live in Ireland. Well, what does Ireland mean to the world? What does Australia mean to the world? Who are we going to be? It's actually really interesting. Ireland's like, okay, we don't necessarily have a lot of mining like Australia. So what can we be? We can be a tax haven, and you know, how can we bring jobs to our country, and you know, how can we make this place great? And you know, it's fascinating. It's eye opening, and I encourage people to learn outside the box like that, because it's so. We not on purpose, but we end up having a very narrow vision of the world and how things are. But when you see different countries competing for worldwide, investment and jobs and stuff like that, I think it's fascinating. I think it's fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yep.
Well, I 100% agree, and I think don't travel for just basic tourism. Travel to seek to understand. I love travel. I love it so much because I love going to Greece and sitting down and finding somebody at a local restaurant or something and just talking.
How do you just ditch like $5 trillion worth of debt and like, whatever, you're not going to do anything?
I want to know because they could not give a shit, Jace. They're just like, it's the biggest hoax in the world, but I'm okay. And it's like you get a totally different perspective on economic management through the eyes of the people on the ground.
Yeah,
the people in Spain in general, no idea. They're like, we owe that much, really? It doesn't feel like we do.
Nothing's going wrong for us.
you go to Portugal, and they're all about bringing Hollywood. Because of what's his face move there. They're all about movie stars and surfing because it put them on the map, and so they've I like Portugal. Portugal's my favorite at the moment because I've been doing some more research since we went over to Malaysia.
You just like the windsurfing. In Portugal, good for windsurfing.
It's great for surfing. Some of the greatest surf breaks in the world. So it's now positioning itself based on social media, but also to capture serious dollars from companies like Red Bull, capture serious surfers, get the tourism happening through social media and tourism happening through business, through Red Bull, through movies and things like that. It's doing a big push to bring that, because when they bring that, they leave the infrastructure there in
There's
movies.
hundreds of millions in movies and stuff like that, which is smart, right? Absolutely smart. I mean, New Zealand did a good job of that, with the air film industry as well. Even the Gold Coast does a pretty good job of that with production and the movie industry in Australia. So, yeah, I love it. It expands your mind, expands your thinking, and you're not so narrow and myopic when it comes to your worldview, which is.
And it goes back to what Kerry said, is that, and this is a long-term view of education, because if you care about not just you, and this is a strange thing about Australia, Jace, is that it's like it's the me generation, but I care about Leo and I care about Leo's kids, and Leo's kids haven't even been born yet. But I want to make sure that the world that he grows up in is safe and has opportunity, and the world that his kids grow up in, which are my grandchildren, which I'll probably never get to meet unless he does something a little bit earlier than what I'd otherwise prefer. But which I'm not hoping for.
You got to live to 150, mate. That's what's going to happen these days. If you got some money, you get to live a bit older. It depends on the quality of that life that you want, though.
100%. But some people, like what I learned when we traveled is, I didn't learn. I re-engaged with a perspective that I hadn't seen for a little while, because I hadn't looked at the world like that. And there are people who look at the world like that, as they're going, how does our family, how do the people that we love, how do they, make the most out of their lifestyle and their place in the world for generations to come? And it's a different thought. And when it comes to business, Kerry Packer had it nailed. He's like, I want to do business with the world, and I want the world to do business with Australia. And if you constrict the laws and you make it hard for businesses to work with us, they will use us as far as they will use our dollars, they will use our population. Here's a crack for everybody. What's the number one tech adoption country on the face of the planet? What's the number one? Who adopts technology faster than any other country on the face of the planet?
Korea? No. I'm going to have a guess at this one. Was that from the other week? Like Vietnam?
No.
Who?
It's us, Jace.
Oh,
we are the fastest adopters of technology in the world, because we have the financial capability, and I don't know, we just adopt it super, super quick. So
one of those test places.
Yes, that's Australia is one of the test places for technology, social and other technologies in the world. We are the number one fast consumer of technology. When Apple used to do its branding exercises, they did it and they launched it in Australia first.
Well, the takeaway, folks, is we do live in a pretty good country. Let's face it. Even though Andy and I certainly have some opinions that are maybe harsh when it comes to the behaviour of our politicians, we need better ones for fuck's sake.
Deserved.
Yeah,
you say harsh, I say deserved.
Yeah, there is certain ways to navigate this stuff in the world of financial management. And I wanted to chuck this one up there, folks. Check out this. I love this stuff.
Can you zoom in a little bit on the title or on the first one? Yep. That's it.
Celebrity landscaper. Who is he? Who's the celebrity landscaper? Jamie Jury.
I was about to say, is there such thing as a celebrity landscaper? I was about to say, Mr. Redding.
What was that show? I can't remember. What Renovator? We had. I think we had a show actually back in the day. This is a throwback. I can get the show. Shay's listening. What show were we on, Shay? Years ago, we had one of our houses, one of our properties.
You were on? Was it the one with Greg Evans and the robot that perfectly matches people together?
It was one with the tall volleyball bird or the swimmer bird. I can't remember what her name was. But anyway, we were on one of those Reno shows many years ago. But anyway, Jamie Jury. What strategy, folks? What strategy in Australia? What strategy in Australia is Jamie using? Is Jamie using to move on from his $33 million Pittwater mansion as he goes along?
Was it the burned backyard from Bradley Pop? Was that the strategy? I know what the strategy is. Mr. Witten.
Yes. Andy Fenton. Answer the question.
Was it the social media influencer strategy?
It was Joanna Griggs. That's her. That was her. Brad, for sure. Joanna Griggs. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, we were on that show. PPR upgrade. Boom, Donna. Exactly. There you go. Jamie purchased this property for $8 million 10 years ago. Renovated it. Guess what he's done? How much has he made, Andy Fenton, tax-free? Do the math. You're the
8, so it's 25 million.
Now, that's not a bad payday for 10 years, eh? 2.5 million tax-free a year. Folks.
Do you know what? When I recently took somebody through this strategy, and you know what the response was, Jace? It was like, oh, but they've got to pay stamp duty going into the new one. I'm like, oh, you'd give an aspirin a headache, mate. Honestly.
Geez. Like, did you just hear? Like, you just made Jamie Jury just made 25 million.
But the stamp duty, Jace. It's like, all right, I'll pay for the stamp duty.
Now listen, and here's another one. Look, Eloise Pratt on the market for 60 million. I couldn't find the purchase price on this because they hide those things. But they bought it 25 years ago, so maybe this is interesting. But again,
that pool looks like it could do with some chlorine too.
Yeah. It need a bit nice. Auction Squad, that was it, Chase.
Auction Squad
back in the day.
When the hammer falls.
Anyway.
Gone.
Yeah, dead right, Sonia. But this is the thing, folks. Andy and I talk about this. There's plenty of strategies you can use in Australia. You do have to grind it out to begin with, get the momentum, Andy. But once you've got that momentum going, those things start to compound on themselves. And, we love to teach that. Andy teaches it at the Freedom Machine, folks. So if anyone's sitting there going, hey, how do I learn a bit more? Scan that code right there. Andy does this every fortnight, and so does the Positive team. But Fenton, any last words for this week?
Yes, I do. So next week, we're going to jump into a few things. And one of it is an acronym that could be described as what you and I used to do with panic bombs around a paddock back when we were in our youth. But there's 4 indexes around the world that I've been quite heavily into, and I'm not giving advice here, but I'd love the world to be, and not the world, but listeners to be interested in this, because I think there's some interesting stuff. I'm not saying invest in these things. I'm not going to tell you what they are tonight. It's for the next episode. But I'll tell you the returns as a little bit of teaser. But
well, Sonia was holding you an account next week. Sonia.
All right. Shit, it might be the week after because we're away next week. So number one is what we used to do around the paddocks. Right. So if you want to ask us, not next week, but the week after, the returns and what it is that Jason and I used to do around the paddocks in our paddock bombs, the annual return, the year return, 42%, 42.8% for the last 12 months, 44.8% for the last 3 years. Every year for the last 3 years, 44.8%, and a measly 27.7% per annum for the last 5 years. One of my favorites. I'm in there. I know why I'm in there. And what I want to chat about in a couple of weeks is the reason, the thinking behind, social investing, social science, investment science. The second one, 40.9% over the last 12 months, 14.2% over every year for the last 5 years.
Good compound.
Every year for the last 5 years, 14.2%.
Yep.
The next one, and this is a cracker. 90.9% in the last 12 months, 70.3% every year for the last 3 years, and 45.3% since the day the index existed.
Crikey.
And then the final one, which is perhaps my favorite. It's not the best returns. It's still outstanding, but it's my favorite because of what it is. 60.97% in the last 12 months, 35.7% every year for the last 3 years. And it's absolutely one of my favorites. It's based on where the world is going, Jace, because investing, is about understanding where the world's going in a lot of ways, right? It's about understanding the super trends of the future. And, in your world, property, I'm not going to say it's an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty simple. People need houses. People want houses in good locations. If there aren't enough houses for the people, prices go up. Just give us one. No. Next the week after. But it's a simple equation, and I think in the world of investment markets, it's a little bit more complex because there's so much more information that gets put in there, and it's not as easy as I need a place to live. But what can I not do without in 15 years? What am I going to be using in 15 years? What am I not going to want in 15 years? And these trends are really strong. They're very much the kite or the wind at your back if you're in them, and you shouldn't be in them in a big way. And if you are, Jesus, you've made a hell of a lot of money. But they're social trends. They're things that we do every day. They're things that we think about every day. They're things that we get pissed off about every day. And they're part of our natural lives. And I think that they're things that people should be looking at, just if nothing else, as a matter of interest, not investment advice, but as a matter of interest. But here's the thing. The rewards is where the future's at, right? Gretzky used to say, the reason why he was the world's best ice hockey player is because he said some people play where the puck is and they follow the puck, and other people play where the puck's going to be. And if you can read the game into the future, then sometimes you can hack that game. And in real estate, Jason, you're the best I've ever met by absolute fucking country mile. And anybody who doubts you needs to meet you, because there's nothing that you say that you haven't done. As a matter of fact, you've done it more than probably absolutely everybody in your industry. But there's very few people who can say that. And it's how can we teach people to play where the puck's going to be, like what you've lived with property for the last 25 years. So that's my little piece of the pie. That's my little contribution to the end of the day, and my little cliffhanger to come back and have a chat about in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, listen, next week, Andy, folks, we are not going live next week because we are live in the flesh at our exit plan getaway, 3 days up in Brisbane with over 150 people, investors and business owners. So looking forward to that. We will be back the following week, and
we will share it with them. I will share it with them there.
Yes. With them. And listen, if you're sitting there right now and you want to come to Brisbane, listen, come along. There you go. And we'd love to have you there. But that's it.
180, Jace.
Yep. Hey.
You've been corrected. Your numbers were short. 180.
I missed the 180. What was
no. D just said that there's 180. So with all of us, there's like 230.
Crew. Yep. All the crew. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. That's for sure. But for today, I think we're done and dusted, Andy, for at the end of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Great to have you here, folks. Thanks for joining us
for another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. We've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you. We really appreciate you coming along for the ride. And as long as you turn up, we'll turn up. We'll do our best to make sure that we bring everything that our compadres, that our professionals tell us and warn us and show us and educate us about. We'll bring that to you and our experiences in order to be able to try and help you, decipher the code, figure out the right directions, and have a lot of fun in doing it. But I do have a special thing for tonight, Jace. If everyone will raise a little bit of a glass, it's my little boy's third birthday today, so it's a happy birthday to my little man Leo.
Happy birthday, Leo.
It's a happy birthday to my little man Leo. I'll send you all love on his behalf, and I think that's it. That's a wrap for us tonight. May I leave you with the love of a young one, and the wisdom of an old one, and the dreams of a 10-year-old. Witten.
There you go.
It's a good night from me.
It's a good night from him, folks. Good night.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.